Welcome to episode 77 of Nobody Special.
On this episode, we talk about reckless love and whether kisses should be sloppy and wet.
The Gospel Outpost presents Nobody Special. Hey everyone, welcome to Nobody Special 2, maybe 3 Nobodies, talking about the somebody who matters. I'm Danny, the unauthorized tambourine player and a host of Nobody Special.
And I'm Caleb, your other host of Nobody Special. This is the show where two generations of people talk about God, pop culture, politics, and everything in between, all while not taking any of it too seriously.
Caleb, who's this guy in the middle?
I have no idea.
No. Hey everyone, we have a special guest today. His name is Pastor Captain Jake Korn. Is it Captain Pastor or Pastor Captain?
I think Jake will suffice.
Jake? Sure thing, Reverend. We'll go for that. No.
Wow.
Jake is the executive pastor at Switzerland, or at the church I talked about a couple episodes ago. I'm the children's pastorate. It's my boss now. So if I screw this up, it's all over for me. And thanks for coming out. This is it's kind of a new format for us. It's a new thing, kind of enjoying it. But I know that a big part is there's a bunch of experience in worship, and there are some questions that our show got asked that I just don't have strong opinions on and needed someone who did. But tell us a bit about Jake. Tell us who Jake is and where he comes from and what he does.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I know it was kind of conditions of your employment that I get to promo on your show.
Absolutely.
So he's just fulfilling a contract.
SwitzerlandCommunityChurch.org, the best church.
I'm just getting what I want out of the deal. So I started in worship ministry 16 years ago.
Okay.
At that time, I started going to a tiny church when I was in college. It was a church of 25 people. And their entire worship team was one guy. And the week I came in, he was leaving. And they said, hey, if you guys want worship next week, you need to do it because there's no other option. Wow. So I knew 3 guitar chords.
Perfect. That's nailed it.
Yep. And I was a baby Christian.
Right.
And I said, hey, I got to jump in because that's what they need. So that's where ministry started for me. Yeah. And I've led worship in the Army and in deployed context, so at chapel in Iraq. And I've led worship at giant churches, and so now I'm the executive pastor of this church, which is kind of the running the staff, the ministry architecture, but I also do all the worship stuff. Wow. So yeah.
That's cool.
Awesome. So Jake and I also attended the same school together. That's how I got to know Jake. And a question I tend to ask everybody who's gone through any kind of MDiv program is, Jake, which class did you first cry through? Mine was Greek, and then every course after that.
I think the hardest one for me was when the middle course between basic Greek and exegesis, which was, what was that called? It was
interpreting the New Testament.
New Testament.
Yeah.
And so I wrote our first exegesis paper, and I mixed up the pseudepigrapha and the deuterocanonicals, and I called them the wrong one. Which was very embarrassing.
Then you drop out and change schools.
And so I was just full of shame. I thought I was making such good points, but I made just it probably doesn't seem embarrassing if you don't know what those two things are, but for me, I just couldn't show my face again.
No, I'll shame you after. Don't worry about that.
So that's where they kind of that class,
right.
They build you up through basic Greek, right? Oh, I can do this. I have the building blocks. And then they just break your knees with a baseball bat saying, no, you don't know anything.
Right.
Get back down in the dust, worm.
Wow.
I had that problem in classes that I turned in a paper that it was 30 pages. I didn't actually make a point until page 27. Right. And I turned it because I was done early. I don't know how I was done early. I was like, is this good? And teacher said yeah, no, that's a perfect paper. That's about a 95. There's a couple things I'd tweak. And I'm like, I don't know what I did. And I had to have her explain to me what it is I did. Is that normal? I mean, did I just back my way into a degree? That's what I'm really scared about, that I don't actually know anything.
I think the point of seminary is just to put you through a blender, and then whatever comes out on the other side hopefully God can use for his glory.
Yeah.
Right? Like you are
Yeah.
just this pulp
Right.
of hopefully something in
Right.
there is refined, right? But you're not like fully formed.
Mm-hmm.
You're just mangled pieces on the other side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Caleb, I know that you're at some point maybe thinking about going down this path.
Maybe. Yeah.
Don't. No, I'm kidding. Don't do it.
I'm sorry.
I feel very underqualified here
Huh?
because I have 2 seminary graduates and I know nothing compared to you guys.
Meh. Yeah.
I mean, I know something.
Yeah, I
but
mean, like, every seminary
This-
graduate I know would probably answer, like, nah, I think you made the smart choice.
Yeah.
it's intimidating.
I have
'cause-
student debt. How much student debt do you have?
None.
There you go.
Yeah, man.
Smarter choice.
Yeah.
I'd trade with you in a second.
Right.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm gonna if you hear me saying quieter this episode, you know why.
Nah, jump on in, man. It's all about
No,
it.
yeah.
So, no,
That's cool, though.
the student debt part, that was the part that got me, because I got my payment schedule off, and they called and said, "Hi, Mr. Burton, do you plan on paying this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a question." No, I don't. I don't. Cool. Thanks for calling. See you
Yeah.
next Christmas. I don't know, but so you know, everyone has backgrounds, and that's fine. Just
Yeah.
chime in at any point. But I know there is a question though to go ahead and jump on in. Caleb, this question has been in the inbox for 3-4 months. So first of all, I'd like to apologize to Mr. Chichi. This was
Yep.
submitted back in April. April was just a crazy month. To be fair, he submitted at the end of April, so we weren't getting to that. And then May got crazy, so I was gonna just kind of wait until May evened out, and then it didn't. June was worse, and July was, I don't know what happened. July is a blur to me. So here we are, August, but we did get to it. Congratulations, Mr. Chichi. So, Caleb,
Yes. Are we gonna read this?
we have a question. Yeah, we
All right.
finally have a question we're getting to,
So
if he still listens.
this is from Mr. Chichi. It's this one right here, right, Danny?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is a question. I think oftentimes people get the wrong
Nope,
idea. of
that's not it.
What? That's
No.
literally just asking.
No,
Wait, where is it? Okay, I see it.
one that says question.
Caleb is messing up today. All right, I see it. Oh, this one. Yep,
Yes.
Okay. All right, from Mr. Chichi. What are your opinions? I'm guessing that's opinions on reckless love.
He said options. We're going to say options.
I
What
have
are
a
your
few
op-
options to give you.
What are the options on reckless love?
What are your options on reckless love?
Sorry,
the
Mr. Chichi.
concept of the song itself. That is
We don't answer his question for 4 months and then berate him for a spelling error that we know what it is. Welcome to Nobody Special.
Nothing
This is
personal,
fun.
Mr. Chichi.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
Oh, so
a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been highly debated over the past.
Yes.
I don't know when it came out, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
People have really strong opinions on this, and
Seriously.
I didn't answer this in May, June, or July because as it really comes down to it, I just don't care. And that's like, I know that's not, I don't have strong enough opinions on that to want to be drawn into a conversation about that, you know. And people have
Yeah.
tried, like, no, let's talk about it. I'm like, nah, I don't really.
Worth my time.
No, Chick-fil-A's open and I need to.
So you could talk about it on Sunday then.
Yeah, on Sundays. So just get in the car quick. But all right, so Jake, as a worship pastor, someone that has experience in this kind of thing, is God's love reckless?
Okay, so let me preface by saying I'm also a Calvinist, so if my shirt is any indication for you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so the Reformed world has one very strong opinion of this.
I would say incredibly strong.
Right.
opinion on this.
And then, like, the overall general worship pastor world has the opposite opinion of this. So, like, the question is God reckless? Can we sing it?
Right.
Is that a true statement? I find that the people who are asking that question are wanting to accomplish the same thing, right? Which is right worship of God. How do we conceive of our songs rightly? But when they retreat to their two different camps on the subject, I don't think they're really being consistent in their hermeneutic method, charitable toward their brothers, right? And I don't think that God is being glorified in the way the question is being asked. So
Right.
So here's the thing. is God reckless? If we were to like narrow down, squish down the concept to that one question, well, the answer is no, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I would say neither is Jesus a door, neither is God a rock. But the Bible uses descriptors, right, that are not precisely accurate in order to convey meaning.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not very articulate descriptors, but they're describing something specific about God, and sometimes the specific human experience in response to God.
Right.
Right? So if you listen to Corey Asbury, he's the writer, listen to his story about why he wrote the song the way he did, he'll tell you that he was specifically remembering when he first came to God, right? A baby Christian or a brand new convert looking up at the greatness of God, maybe not understanding the Bible in its entirety, right? Peter tells us, hey, you're on spiritual milk, you need to move to spiritual meat,
Right.
which gives us this idea that there's a continuum of growth, right, in your understanding of the Bible. And he says, I looked at God and looked at myself and said, God, why on earth would you save me? So this song is based off of the parable of the lost sheep, right?
Right.
The 99 and 1. And what Jesus is doing in Luke 15 is he's specifically saying, if a human shepherd left the 99 to grab the one, you would think that is
Reckless.
reckless,
Sorry.
right? You would say to that human shepherd, that's reckless.
Right, absolutely.
You should not do that. But God, right, being full of love, rich in mercy, he will do this for you, and it's not reckless. But,
Right.
but for the sheep, it seems reckless.
Absolutely, and I think it's partially. I know Caleb and I have talked about this a bit too. It's a perspective question too.
Yeah.
I mean, if I am trying to do open heart kind of surgery on a person, all right, that actually is reckless. If a doctor does it, it's acceptable, even though there's some challenge in that. I'm assuming it's hard. I don't know, but I'm okay if a doctor does it because they are more caring and better than I am. God can do that because God's like, nah, I'm good. Like, I got it. Now we good.
Yeah, it's part of his plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what the Calvinists are worried about is that very inarticulate thing Stephen Furtick said, which was, God broke the law for love. Well, he didn't. God
my gosh,
God
yeah.
did not break the law.
I forgot he said that.
Right.
It was so bad.
God did not break the law, and neither did he risk anything in saving his sheep.
Right.
Yeah.
But the human perspective in that time is what God didn't make any sense when it comes to me. And the song, you have to admit, it is ministering to people.
Right.
What it's saying is a true thing about the human experience. So
Right.
the Calvinist goes, well, we should not sing songs about the human experience. Am I right? We've heard this, right?
Yeah.
Every song should be Christocentric and
Right.
have a perfect view. Every song should describe penal substitutionary atonement, right, in its exact detail.
Oh,
Right, like-
the penal substitute.
It's catchy. It works, right? But there's this this holdover ideal in Reformed worship, and I think I worship that is advanced or mature, right, must always be precisely about Christ, precisely accurate of the eternal reality of Christ, which is a great ideal.
Right, absolutely.
There are a couple problems with that. One, the Bible doesn't give us a picture of worship that is devoid of the human context, right?
Yeah.
There are plenty of psalms that are written from a human perspective. David asks, "Where are you, God? How long will you hide your face from me, God?" That's entirely from David's perspective, experiencing God.
Yeah,
Right.
in Calvinist perspective, they'd have to cut that out, and that's dangerous to start to
Correct.
cut stuff out of the Bible.
Correct. The song
Generally frowned upon.
The songbook of God's people
Right.
has psalms. Another thing Calvinist worship really talks about a lot as well. The song needs to be God-centric. Don't sing, there's that Hillsong song, Who You Say I Am, right? Well, the song shouldn't be
love
about
that
you.
song.
That's a great song. It's
Right.
a good jam. We play it at our church. They say, well, the psalm shouldn't be about you. The song should be about God. Again, There are psalms, a number of psalms, where over 75% of the pronouns used are me and I, my experience of God. So there's plenty of biblical warrant to say our worship songs should be the outpouring of a redeemed heart, right, through the context of what I'm going through, singing to God. Think about David or the post-exilic psalms talking about, hey God, please come kill my enemies. Please rip off their lips and kill their babies. That's Psalms, right? Right?
If I have a daughter, that one's getting prayed over.
So this is acceptable worship, right?
Yeah.
Right? This is acceptable worship. This is inspired worship. So reckless love is using an inarticulate metaphor, which the Bible uses, to describe a slice of a Christian life, which is that beginning conversion experience.
Right.
It reminds the soul of what God did for me. I've been saved for, I don't know, a long time. I could do the math, but I'm terrible at math, right? I've been walking with the Lord for a minute, you know. And that song reminds me of the time when God revealed himself to me for the first time, and it ministers to my faith. Paul in Ephesians, right, says, remember that you were dead in your trespasses because now God has made you alive and because he's rich in mercy. Right. That song helps me remember.
Absolutely. But I think part of the critique, I think, of this is that it gets problematic if they're trying to say God is, complete, or, God does that kind of stuff, that God is gambling, I guess, is kind of the mentality that people are scared of saying, God is gambling on those 99 to go get the one. And to say God is gambling implies that there is this aspect of chance and God isn't 100% sovereign. And I think that's the problematic aspect that people are probably scared of, is people taking this instead of as the outpouring of the fear of a man and applying it to, no, God is reckless. Well, God's not, though. That's the thing. So I think that's kind of the caution of that.
Another term, or another thing is, people don't often apply it to, God is love, right? But love is also an attribute of God. But it's talking about God's love specifically. And it never says that God is specifically reckless. And that's something that is another perspective on this, is do you guys think, because God's love flows out of him, and the definition of reckless is what? Without thinking?
Without regard for oneself.
Right.
And so, I would say, talking about God's love specifically, and also this is kind of, I understand it gets a bit tricky because he is love, but do you think that his love flows out without thinking because he is love and it just goes out? Is that a good term to describe?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. And I'm not even arguing for the fact that reckless is the best descriptor of God's love, right? I'm a Calvinist. God has an eternal decree. He has chosen his plan from the laying of the foundations of the earth. He's going to save everyone he intends to save, right? But that's not what the song is doing. The song is referring to the time when God's love seemed reckless as a baby Christian. So a consistent hermeneutic, right, that we do when we interpret the Bible is, what is the author's intent? We always filter everything we do through the Bible. What was the author's intent? Well, in the case of Corey Asbury and Reckless Love, we actually have him alive to ask him, are you trying to say that God is gambling? And he would say, no, absolutely not. But when I was saved, I didn't understand why God saved me. That seemed reckless to me.
That's a good point. That, I think, helps clarify, because we do, like you said, filter the Bible through everything like that, because it is important to know the author's intentions. So, I would say it's the same for worship too. That's a good point. I actually really haven't thought about that.
Yeah, the three big questions in any biblical interpretation that I think we're going to get to next episode from that other question that we're going to get into in a timely manner. Sorry we missed it 2 weeks. But is the three main questions in biblical interpretation are, what does it say, what does it mean, and then how do I apply it? And people tend to just skip to that third of, I'm just going to apply it, therefore I can go out and slaughter the children of my enemies. Like, no, you can't. You cannot. You do not do that. Specifically, New Covenant things changed a little bit. Like, don't do it. But it's this idea of applying that as content and understanding. All right, this is the thing it's communicating as is understood by the perspective of the author giving it.
Right.
And that's why I say when we have this argument, they're not being consistent in their hermeneutic, and they're not being charitable toward a brother in Christ.
Right.
Right? This man wrote this song. Is it the way I would have phrased it? No, I probably would have named it the steadfast love of God. That's it fits in the rhyme and the rhythm, and it's way more biblically centered.
Right.
But this is the way that this guy's heart was expressing a true thing about God, a true experience about God. Yeah. And we just immediately move to the place where we just dump on this guy's head for, how inarticulate it is. And art doesn't work that way. Biblical art especially doesn't work that way.
No.
And I don't think anybody who's really critiquing this song is really filtering it through a cohesive biblical theology, especially in Hebrew, of worship. We filter these things through the Reformation, period. I mean, that is where all of this comes from. It's that Scottish Presbyterian, Puritan, regulative principle of worship. That's the standard that we're holding this song up to. It's not biblical Hebrew and Old Testament worship.
Right. So then the other question is, as long as all of us are handling the debates, is the kiss unforeseen, sloppy, or passionate?
Sloppy wet and unforeseen are both acceptable.
Unforeseen, man, I don't know about that one. There's something about a guy just sneaking up behind us and then like wow, hold on.
I think you might be taking it too far.
I don't know, it's unforeseen. I couldn't have foreseen this happening.
I think it's the context of your pleasant surprise when somebody who you want to kiss you kisses you. I think that's the context that they're going for. Again,
I think that's the assumption I'm missing. Hold on.
Artistic
I can't think of
metaphors-
someone that I'd be okay, like, surprise kiss is like, get off. Why are you doing this?
Artistic metaphors tend to be sloppy and reckless.
Isn't it passionate, though? Can't we say passionate kiss?
I hate that one.
I do, too.
Much.
I really do. I just want to stir the pot.
Not for any particular reason.
Right.
I'm a fan of sloppy wet.
The song's author has specifically promoted both unforeseen and sloppy wet. He has come out and said, because he owns the rights to the song, this is a licensing issue now, you can use either of these and it's okay. Corey Asbury has said, no, you will not sing my song with perfect or steadfast. I wrote it reckless. And the author's rights to the licensing of the song do come into play.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't sing sloppy wet when I do it.
It's I don't know. Both of those terms individually are a bummer.
Sure.
Together, it's an exponential.
I enjoy
rise.
sloppy wet because I see it as like embracing. It's very passionate embrace, and. I
think about my dog with sloppy wet, which is definitely not where he's going.
Right.
But that's what I think about.
Yeah. And oftentimes the dog's kiss for me is also unforeseen.
Yeah.
She will. She actually, anytime she has to go out, she'll come and just lick my face and walk away. So I can't even tell her to go away because she's already doing it. Like I can't even be mad at you. I don't know how to do this.
And then you smell like kibble.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, and other things. So it's all right. So it's either sloppy or unforeseen. I don't know. The whole term is just a bummer to me.
So don't sing the song. Move on.
But I'm not going to be that kind of the sour grapes guy in a worship. Like, I'm not singing this one. It's not really about me. I guess I can suck it up for that. But
I think a good congregational worship application is if that song is not ministering to you and it's not like heresy, look around your congregation, see who it is ministering to. And if you don't want to sing that song, spend some time praying for those brothers over there. You know, like there is a charitable application in worship of a song that I don't dig that's beneficial to the body, and that's useful for edification. Instead of crossing your arms and saying, "Nah, I hate that song."
Yeah.
That doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
No, that's, and I've seen people do that as if they're in this kind of a silent protest, a la the Handmaid's Tale. You know, they're like just standing there in opposition. I'm like, that can't be the way to approach God and worship. Like, I'm almost sure that is not the right way to do that. So
that's something we also adopted from the Puritans, which is this idea that a stoic worship, right, a very non-affect worship, right, is somehow evolved and somehow more mature.
Right.
That's especially prevalent in the American South. But that's a Puritan idea. That's not biblical. The biblical, all the words are raise your hands, prostrate yourself.
So bring the tambourine in. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Your pastor doesn't mind. He told me.
I mind. I have security guards who check for tambourines at the door.
Pat them down like, what is this? Streamers, get this out of here. We don't have a dance team.
That's because Paul wants worship to be orderly as well.
Have you ever been to church, someone actually pulled out something, and you're like, yeah.
So I was raised. I'm a
really
Calvinist
weird.
now, but I was raised in charismatic churches, so
Mm-hmm.
I am very used to streamers and tambourines.
Right.
I've seen the two, sides of a swinging pendulum.
Right.
What about the paintings on stage?
Oh, yeah. I've definitely been a party to those.
Oh, that they're
Those are
drawing them
actually
on
kinda
stage?
cool.
No,
I'm not
it's
gonna
cool
lie.
if they're asked to come, but if Joe just comes up and is like,
Sets up his easel.
I'm gonna just set up some easels here and start painting. Are we good? You know, and then he paints Jesus upside down and turns it, and everybody's amazed. It's like, sure, all right.
I could have watched that on Facebook. Do I need that in congregational worship?
Yeah,
Right.
Probably not.
So as far as that goes, then I mean, the goal of worship, I guess, as far as that goes. I mean, because I can pick on all the extreme cases of, I need to go get that banner and walk it around the city. That's the one that gets me every time, is they'll get a banner and no one asks them to do it, and they'll just like start flying it. That's the one I'm like, what's going on, man? Are you good? But so the goal of worship, though, to just kind of break it down to people that are trying to get into it, because I know in a cultural context, it's almost as if worship didn't occur until I have the fuzzies inside that says the Holy Spirit is there. And frankly, I don't think that's biblical, good, or accurate. So what is the point of worship? If I can break that question down as simple as I can.
So if you pull back a biblical theology of worship across the whole text, right? What is going to occur in the 80 years of your life on earth, right, is going to be minuscule compared to 40,000, 90,000 years into eternity. Eternal worship will be, I think, what the very few pictures we get, I think of Revelation 5 specifically, us around the throne praising who is worthy, the Lamb is worthy, right? That will be worship in its purest and best form, right? So that's kind of always our ideal of worship, which is to God. But at that point, the difficulty of the human context will be over.
Right.
Now, Paul tells us in Ephesians 5, right, to sing to one another psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. And so that then gives us this idea that there's a horizontal measure of worship wherein your heart, as it's overflowing with what God has put in you, is ministering to a brother or a sister who's going through a difficult time. That we are doing theology together, and also where the proclamation of the gospel interacts with your human life and the difficulty of walking through earth. That's the point where we come together as a body and edify one another through song. So on earth, in our time here, there's that aspect of worship. And then there is the forward moving piece of worship, which is God's mission being accomplished on the earth. So I think of the Battle of Jericho, right? Worship being used to proclaim to the rebel enemy who is opposed to God, God is coming. And then,
hey guys,
here we are.
What's up?
And that's echoed in Acts 16 when Paul and Silas are in prison, right? They start singing and praying. The earthquake comes and the shackles are broken off of them. But then the jailer hears their worship and sees that they're missional. They don't run away as soon as their shackles are undone. And the jailer becomes repentant and turns to God and is saved. So I think there is on earth a third dynamic of worship that is accomplishing God's mission.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're in that order. I think the horizontal, the vertical is first, the most important. Then there's the edification of the body, and the last one.
Right.
Okay. So I've always tended to kind of think of it as giving glory to God, but in doing that, it expands out of that point. It's kind of you know, a bomb blast.
Yeah.
If I'm giving glory to God, then I'm bridging a gap between heaven and earth, and that does have an effect that expands out through all that. Is kind of how I've understood that. Is that fair or heresy?
I would completely agree with that. I think of it in terms of like you're a little teacup, and you know, God is pouring his goodness into you, and eventually that bubbles up to the top and overflows, and then other people's teacups come underneath. I do want to take the point to say worship is not just music either,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
It's your reasonable service in Romans 12. It is your lifestyle. The proclamation of the gospel is worship. The giving to the needy is worship. But also congregational music is a key aspect of it that we
absolutely.
can't undo.
So people typically, I've seen them try to separate the words praise and worship. Like, do you think those belong separate? What do you think their correlation is with each other?
And he's accusing me because I do that just because some other things have, you know, as a worship pastor gets up and says, and now to close out this time of worship, I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
At what point should the worship stop? No, close out the time of praise. Like, and again, don't even really do that. But,
right. Yeah. Yeah, so it's English shorthand, right?
Yeah.
In American churchianity, that worship means music, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that if the teaching that you're under at the church also expands worship beyond that.
Okay.
It is a shorthand. So to say, oh, he's a worship pastor and his whole job is music, that is squashing down music, but that
or a worship album. I mean, that's kind of the point I'm of. Like, no, that's just music. It's an album. I paid money for it. Like, it's an album.
We're really in.
I'm splitting hairs.
We're really in translation territory, though, right? Because the biblical mandate is there's like 17 words through the Hebrew and the Greek that are used for worship.
Right.
So we're squishing them down to one or two, praise and worship.
Right.
So if you want to get super picky about it, well, then should we have 19 words that mean specifically different things, or can we as a culture have a shorthand that makes sense with good teaching behind it?
Right.
So praise and worship isn't specific enough, but I wouldn't. And I've seen people say the praise part is the part that means music. Okay, well it's not a biblical word, that's an English word. That's not actually accurate if you want to split hairs down to that level.
And our study of scripture should also be praise.
Yeah, well,
so
1,000%, that's true. So you really have to teach the person, right? And teach the congregation and look at the whole breadth of what that congregation's teaching on worship is if it's deficient, the shorthand might not be useful for them. You might need to be more specific. I probably wouldn't really favor the term worship pastor for a person who does music ministry. I think music pastor is probably fine. I know all my Calvinist friends, you're all cringing right now anyway with me saying, oh, there shouldn't be a music pastor, there's only pastor. I get it.
Pastor, music.
But words mean things, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
The English is already packed with some meaning that we've brought to the table.
Right.
That the Hebrew terms or the Greek terms maybe get left out of that equation. And so a good pastor shepherds the congregation through these translation issues. Every translator makes choices, right?
Right. Yeah.
You are making an interpretive choice, and it should be based off of the understanding of the context of your reader or your hearer.
Right.
Yeah.
So the kisses can be sloppy, but the teaching can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
All right. That's where we're the worst summation ever.
That should be the title of the episode.
The kisses can be
Sloppy wet teaching.
Sloppy wet teaching.
Oh gosh.
Caleb, say something catchy. That's a good idea. Just really drive this home. Sloppy, wet. I'll remember it. Wet teaching. That's not even close. So, no, that's important stuff to keep in mind. But I do agree that, there's a whole book of Psalms. Those are all songs. So there is this important aspect of proper understanding of God and the outpouring of the soul. And that's important. And that leads me to our final part that you are maybe the most excited about. I think it was the grand philosophers from the show South Park who stated that if a person is trying to fake their way into a Christian band, just take 80s love songs and take out the term baby and put in Jesus.
It's sad how true that is.
Yeah, like that was I saw that episode and I was like, I'm upset. I don't have a refute though, so I don't really know what to do with that. And according to that, I have a special quiz I've prepared. It's a this or that quiz. So the following quotes are either going to be the Song of Solomon as told by Eugene Peterson in the Message Bible, rest in peace, or 80s love ballads. So if Song of Solomon ever talked about dating a girl half his age, it would easily be able to be mistaken for anything by Sting and the Police. Wow. If I'm lying, I'm dying.
That's true.
Didn't he do "You Better Run, Girl, You're Much Too Young, Girl"? Mm-hmm. No one in the band said "Hey, Sting, how old we talking here? 17, 13? Where are we at, Sting, buddy? Are you good? No one stopped. So, let's get into it. This, I may have a gift card that I forgot to bring. I'll bring it to you if you win. I'll probably bring it to you if you lose, too, because you
that's great.
Donated time and your beautiful bride is at home.
No mercy.
You already got the job, man. You don't need to bribe me anymore. That's okay.
So I'll start off easy, and then Caleb, you're gonna have to read some of these because I can't. I want to know what love is, and I want you to show me. Is that an 80s love ballad or the Song of Solomon as told by Eugene Peterson?
That's a softball. That's an 80s love ballad.
Yes, that's by The Foreigner. I want to know what love is. And if I say any more,
are we gonna sing every single one of these?
No.
Those specifically would make decent worship lyrics, though. I would be okay with that.
If you do that on, please.
I want Jesus to show me what love is. What's wrong with that?
Right. I know what I'm doing tonight. I'm writing you a song. Hey, buddy. It's a last minute entry for the service tomorrow. Caleb, go ahead and take the next one.
All right, wait.
Just the top part.
Just the top part.
Yeah.
I need you to decipher this for me, Danny. Because I didn't look at this beforehand.
All right, here, I can do it.
You do the next one.
I'm trying really hard not to, in my peripheral vision, see the answers.
For you. There we go.
Okay, go.
You go with the next one.
Danny. Oh, do you need me to read? Okay. He took me home with him for a festive meal, but his eyes feasted on me. That's
Song of Solomon.
Wow, that was really fast. Okay, Song of Solomon 2:4 in the ESV. It tells us this, that he brought me to the banqueting house, and his banner over me is love. Caleb, do you have the next one?
All right, I think I got the next one. I'm going to try not and screw this up. All right. My life has been such a whirlwind since I saw you. I've been running around in circles in my mind, and it always seems that I'm following you. Do I continue?
Yeah, you can stop there.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
That could go either way.
Uh-huh.
Just because Eugene Peterson's very fast and loose with the metaphors.
Right.
I'm going to say that is a 80s song.
Do you have a guess as to the song?
No. I didn't know that was part of it.
Well, it's not, but it's bonus points.
Oh.
Also, I'm not keeping score, so like whatever.
I don't.
That's correct. That's an 80s love ballad song. That's Can't Fight This Feeling Anymore by REO Speedwagon.
Okay, got it.
Thank you for stopping there. I'm realizing if you had said girl, which was the next word,
I'm guessing I should stop there.
that would have been clear. Like, no, yeah, that's a 80s love ballad.
I could see Solomon saying that to the Shunammite woman. Girl.
Because you take me to the places that alone I'd never find.
Yeah.
That one, yeah. All right, so the next one. Sorry.
Gosh.
I can't. This is hard, man. It's hard to read them. Kiss me full on the mouth. Yes, for your love is better than wine.
That's Song of Solomon.
I want to take the time to say kiss me full on the mouth is about as gross as sloppy wet kiss for me. Like, kiss me full on the mouth. Like, ugh.
Listen, that is a great example of these worship writers where they get their warrant for their metaphors. These guys usually aren't just pulling from thin air. Like, they latch on to something that they've read from the text of Scripture,
Right.
and they kind of bring it out with some life. So it's a good example.
Just kiss me full on the mouth.
I would not be surprised if you go back and you ask the author of that song, hey, where did you think that you should be describing God's love that way? And he would point you to that. I bet that gift card that happened.
Yeah.
To my future bride. If you're waiting for that sentence, not gonna happen. Hey, babe, could you kiss me full on the mouth? Like, that's, I don't know, that's uncomfortable. But ESV has it as, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth because your love is better than wine.
And let them be sloppy.
It's just real sloppy and unforeseen, but definitely not passionate. Take the passion out of that one and just... okay, the next one. You stand by me. I'm forever yours faithfully.
Oh, that's an 80s song.
Wow.
That's Faithfully by Journey. Yeah. And give me the guitar riff for bonus points. Okay, not too much because it goes up on YouTube, and and Sony UMG will take the non-revenue we get from these. So, Caleb, final thing. He's gone 5 out of 6, which is better than we normally do.
I'm either great at Bible or great at 80s songs.
Right.
One or the other.
All right, am I reading all of this?
No, just this part.
All right. I was sound asleep, but in my dreams I was wide awake. Oh, listen. It's the sound of my lover knocking, calling. Let me in, dear companion, dearest friend, my dove, consummate lover. I'm soaked with the dampness of night, drenched with dew, shivering and cold.
That's Song of Solomon.
I really thought these would be harder. This is Song of Solomon 5:2, but
there's a way that Hebrew grammar works.
I know,
right? And having been a music person for so long, I also know how Western music works. And so it I'm looking at the skeleton of the grammar, and that's how I'm pulling it. I'm sorry.
No, that's really good. These were like really hard for me. I was just staring at them like, that's gotta be.
We can do a retake, and I'll take a fall.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I mean these are. This is a joke, but there is this kind of passionate aspect to Song of Solomon that people only teach in marriage conferences and a youth camps, telling kids to not touch each other.
Yes.
I mean,
so
right.
Like. There's this worship snobbery, right, that says if that worship song could be sung as a love song to a human lover, then you shouldn't sing that worship song.
Right.
Again, what is the biblical warrant? Is that true? Well, no. Song of Solomon, 1,000% gives you biblical warrant to write an intimate love song to God. Is there a line where it gets a little too creepy?
Yeah.
Not according to Song of Solomon.
Well,
there isn't a line. Right?
I think it's beyond where Song of Solomon puts it.
Maybe sometimes.
I think people try and draw it before Song of Solomon. I think there is a
Song of Solomon goes on describing
it really does.
breasts as goats, and I mean, so my point is,
your neck is like the Tower of Babel.
When you come up to a song that you hate and you want to do this, that song is dumb.
Sour grapes.
Do some research. Find out where the author drew that from the Bible, like check your heart, and then don't assume upon their heart.
Right.
If it's theologically wrong, right? If the song says, "We praise you, O God, for being three distinct persons and three distinct beings," go ahead and question that song.
Right.
If it's a inarticulate metaphor, they very well could be drawing from something really specific from the Bible that you haven't read for a while.
Right.
So I'm very passionate against worship snobbery. So.
Yeah. It's important. I feel like anytime I don't know a song, I think a good way to handle that is like just what I typically do is just listen and kind of listen to the words, watch them on the screen and kind of think about what they mean. And I think that's a good way, because I don't really sing, mainly because I don't know the song or the word or the way the song goes. I don't really sing songs I don't know at first. I think that's kind of a good way to soak it in and assess it, and then do your research.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good.
See, and I think that's important too, to not just be going through things as I am the monkey who says stuff on screen, because there are some songs that are just wrong. They're just wrong. I mean, the whole every day with Jesus is sweeter than the next. I'm like,
yeah.
Tell that to the suffering person. It's like, no, this is fine. Like, it's better than yesterday. I mean, because people have tried to say that during times of crisis or death, and they say it's like, no, every day's better than the next. So I know someone wasn't dead yesterday and today they are, but today's better.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean...
I think of the song, the Like a Rose Trampled on the Ground, right? He thought of me above all. That's not true.
No.
But what you're saying, apply critical thinking,
Right.
apply your knowledge of Scripture,
Right.
but don't always assume you have the whole Bible memorized.
Right.
There's a song called "Take Courage" that I was kind of like, that song, it's a beautiful song, but I didn't love the chorus. The chorus is, "He's in the waiting," and they repeat that. I'm like, oh, okay, those are just words. Then I watched a YouTube video of the lady who wrote the song, and she's like, yeah, it's from this story in 2 Kings where the king is told, don't go fight that battle, God's gonna fight it for you. And I read it and I had to repent, right?
Yeah.
Like I held animus in my heart against that writer, thought I was better than them, saying, I know more about the Bible than you. That's not really a biblical phrase. But here it is. She expounded artistically from a song from 2 Kings, right? Like, I'm a seminary grad, I should know everything. I didn't remember that story.
Right.
And now it's a beautiful song. And I've had the opportunity to walk some other people who had worship snobby attitudes right through, hey, have you read this story from 2 Kings? It's pretty good. Look what it says about God. Now look what it says about you. So have a charitable view of your brothers and sisters in Christ before you dump on their song.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So 40 minutes to answer one question we ignored for 4 months. No, that's fine. I'm actually, and I'm sure Mr. Chi-Chi appreciates it too, whose actual name is Alex, but sorry for taking 5 months to answer one simple question. It's not our worst. Yeah. So, Caleb, any other final thoughts anyone had? I was going to land the plane. Any other final thoughts?
Any other final thoughts?
Final thoughts?
I don't have any. Do you?
I could do this all day.
Keep going. Favorite worship song? Knowing what we've all said about the term worship song, but all right, that's fine.
Praise and worship.
Praise and worship. And any of the other 19 definitions we'll be using for worship.
I really can't do that, because they're just songs from so many different eras. So they say, and I don't believe this, but your favorite worship style will be the one that was popular when you were saved. I don't necessarily believe that, although
I haven't done hand motions in a song in forever.
I will just be destroyed every time Shout to the Lord is played, for example. That was the ballad going around when I was saved. So when I said I can't do the math of when I was saved.
That's a journey back.
Now you can do the math.
Yeah.
I really like the hymn "There Is a Fountain." That's one of my favorites. But then with new songs that come out, I fall in love with new songs over and over again. So I can't do the favorite thing.
I found, as far as I enjoy Corey Asbury and all that. There have been moments, because I tend to be pretty stoic in a worship. That's just how that comes out. Every now and then I'll get to that point of just like a nasty crying, God's doing something in there. And I've in the past tried to not sing during those, and I was just in a service at some point thinking, no, there's just something, I have to just keep pouring this out. Corey Asbury is so hard to sing when you're just weepy, nasty crying in the middle of 1,000 people like, oh, yeah, like that. It was not pretty, but it was, I don't know, it's a good song, huh? I don't know, something, I just had to keep going.
I can't sing and cry at the same time.
I want to disclaim, like, you don't have to. There's a meme on Facebook right now that says, if you're not crying after worship, you didn't worship.
Right.
That's not true.
No,
You can be stoic in your aspect, but worship music should stir the affections of your heart.
Absolutely.
And I have no stamp of approval of what that looks like for you. That is a you and the Spirit question. I cannot discern the hearts and intentions of men. But if worship is not stirring the affections of your heart, ask some questions of yourself.
Sure.
Why is that?
Sure.
Am I giving myself to idols all week and faking it here on Sunday? Am I despising my brothers and I'm never going to love this song? Just ask yourself why. That's all I'm saying.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where I won't sing, but and it kind of distracts. My brain is I get distracted easily, so it's easier for me sometimes to not sing the words, but just sit there in silence and worship.
Right.
There's different ways,
right.
And I think that sometimes there is pressure that everyone sing, sing worship.
Yeah.
But I feel like as long as you're going about it your own way, and you're truly connecting with God, then you're good.
Stoic doesn't mean dispassionate.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the thing the non-Stoics don't 100% get. It's that because they understand if I'm not pouring everything out, everything's out there, then I haven't done it. Because to them, that's true.
Yeah.
If they're not at that point. But, I mean, I've had some deep moments of God stirring and doing a lot of stuff in there that could not have been told from my face.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if a person had come up and tried to talk to me, I would not have been able to hear them based on everything else going on in the heart and soul of God. Just like I'm stirring it up, but yeah, it's Stoic isn't dispassionate.
I would apply the Sermon on the Mount to your worship, which is to say, it is not your external behavior that we're going after. It is what is happening in your heart.
Right.
And that is the key to what acceptable worship looks like. Is it an open, authentic heart singing the words of truth about who God is?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
So, Mr. Chi-Chi, thank you for the question. Sorry it took us 4 months. We apologize for that. Caleb, if they're interested in asking us a question, where can they go?
You can go to thegospelpost.com/nobodyspecial, and if you go to the bottom of our little page there will be a little form that you can fill out and ask us questions or just say hello. Do whatever you want. And also, if you can find us at Nobody Special Podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
How about Twitter?
Nope. Because Twitter's the worst. And
Twitter's the place everyone goes to when Facebook servers are down, but they're only there to ask about Facebook servers. Like, hey, is Facebook down for everyone else? So.
But if you DM us there, we'll make sure to answer it. So yeah.
Actually answered in a timely manner. So we apologize about that.
Yeah.
Also, be sure to subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, hit the bell, whatever, smash the bell, whatever. Smash the bell. I will dab for every bell smash. Huh? It's the whole YouTube thing. Do you know about everything going on YouTube?
No.
Yeah, okay. Good. It's boring. Yeah, I'll tell you after. So yeah, that's gonna do it for us today. So I'm Danny.
Caleb.
Who are you?
I'm Jake.
And we are Nobody Special.